Have you noticed that as everything around you seems to decline, one thing still grows? It is the power of your rulers. None of their plans and directives have solved your problems or made your life better. The only result has been their increased control over you at the cost of your freedom. Do you know why? You gave them the power.
New tonight, the Loudoun County School Board meeting took a new turn. Parents blasting the school board and superintendent, calling for resignations after a student was charged with sexual assault on 2 different campuses. 7 News reporter Justin Hinton joining us live in Ashburn tonight. And Justin, what do we know about these cases?
Yeah, we are trying to get more answers, Jonathan, but we're not hearing much from the sheriff's office or the school system, and that's because these cases involve juveniles. But we are hearing from one of the parents. He is sharing his daughter's story, and what he is saying is angering a lot of parents. The arrest of Scott Smith during a Loudoun County Public Schools Board meeting on June 22nd preceded the bombshell he would later drop. He confirmed to 7 News on Your Side his daughter was the victim of a sexual assault in the girls' bathroom at Stonebridge High School at the end of May. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office confirms that same juvenile suspect was charged with a second sexual assault at another Loudoun County school after the May 28th incident. That caused parents to bring their signs and voices to the October 12th school board meeting.
You guys failed. Sexual assaults happening in public schools is inexcusable and should never happen.
How do you expect parents across this county to drop their children off at school and trust you all to keep them safe when you have shown on more than one occasion you are not up for the job? 7
News on Your Side asked the school for the policy on handling these types of cases. The closest policy can be found in Part B of Policy 8220 and Policy 8210. They state a student may be suspended for a period of not more than 10 school days for physical assault upon another person, including fighting and non-consensual touching. The length of a suspension can be elevated, but we're told they're handled on a case-by-case basis. What's not clear, and what the school system says it cannot comment on, what exactly happened in the first incident that didn't cause the discipline to rise to the level of immediate expulsion, something 7 News and many parents are working to get answered.
With your positions come great responsibility, and you're continuing to fail us all. So we will keep fighting. Thank you.
I asked the superintendent for an interview tonight on this topic to address a number of questions, including if the school system has learned anything from this that would maybe lead to some policy changes, but he declined that interview. He said the school system would release a statement tomorrow. We're live in Ashburn tonight. Justin Hinton, 7 News.
It'll be interesting to what they say. All right, Justin, thanks.
My road to being labeled a domestic terrorist started by asking for schools to open and the mental health of our children. We talked about mental health and suicide rates. You posted selfies and created hit lists. We were outraged at the pornography and the books being assigned to our students and openly discussing violent sexual behavior. What could go wrong with that, huh? Your response was to take them out of middle schools and purchase even more offensive material. You orchestrated chaos and demanded parents be arrested and then had the animus to have us labeled as domestic terrorist. We opposed 8040 not because we're transphobic, but because we were worried about our children. We were worried about both the boys and the girls being exposed to other sexes in their bathroom and in their locker room. We were concerned about the safety of our children. Beth, you asked if students were regularly raped at Mr. Zink.
I signed up to speak today with the intention of questioning how this board was going to address the widespread learning loss that the pandemic has cast upon so many LCPS students, my son included. However, with the recent news regarding LCPS and sexual assaults at school, that topic needs to be addressed. How do you expect parents across this county to drop their children off at school and trust you all to keep them safe when you have shown on more than one occasion you are not up for the job? I am disgusted looking back at the school board meeting on the 22nd, knowing what I know now. The meeting was purposely stopped prior to Mr. Smith being able to address the board. Pictures of Mr. Smith were then circulated nationwide under a false narrative. You all know what happened in this room. I do too. Dr. Ziegler and Mrs. Jones then lied about the assaults happening at LCPS, and the entire board stayed silent. Every single one of you should be ashamed of yourselves. My hope for the families of the victims is true justice. It will not change what happened to their daughters, but it may stop it from happening again. I hope it does.
Unisex restrooms in our schools do not have to be a part of diversity and equity. This is not about inclusion, it's toxic activism. The 80-40 policy was rushed through to a vote without consideration for the safety of all students, simply to satisfy a political agenda. A policy that you knew full well could allow our children to be abused inside our schools. At least 2 young women are recent victims of sexual assaults in our high schools, one of those occurring in a restroom. Your moral compasses are busted. You, Dr. Ziegler, and our school board, every one of you, are complicit in these crimes against our children because you did nothing about it. Nothing. Rape, inappropriate touching, grooming, etc. And you do nothing except for move people around and wait for the next victim. No firing, no expulsions. You buried a rape prior to passing 80-40 so that your policy wouldn't be affected, and surprise, it happened again, and you did nothing. So tonight you should resign, every one of you.
Let's make a list of all the violent and sexual behavior in our Loudoun County schools in the last year. Fighting between girls, fighting between boys, blowjobs at Briar Woods, alcohol in the toilets, teachers posting sexual positions at Woodgrove, law enforcement reporting on sexual assaults and sodomy at Stonebridge, and now at Broad Run. Sexually explicit books describing a 10-year-old boy having fellatio with an adult man. Extremely violent and murderous books describing a black mother killing her daughter. Diversity books showing 2 young boys kissing on the covers. Books including abduction, torture, and rape. Murals in a classroom about sexuality and preference. Pride flags embedded in school logos on school walls. Teachers bullying students into racial discussion at Freedom High School. Teachers soliciting pronouns and gender identity. Who turns you on painted with gender sexuality messages? Who are terrorizing our children? Not the parents. Who is lying to us? Superintendent Ziegler. And